Good morning, Roll Gang, and welcome on inside to a Canna News Thursday episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake. It is time to share the latest and greatest motion in cannabis industry news moving forward here in this brand new cannabis space in the United States. The cannabis industry is popping and fired up, so really got to see what's been happening in the industry in the last week. The cannabis industry. The industry surrounding this unbelievable plant that sets the vibe for all of the weekday wake and bakes every weekday morning, because after all, it's stoner law that we have awoke, so now we must have a smoke. So fucking pumped to smoke up some of this Gorilla Glue in a nice perfect joint, just like we roll every single time on every episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake. I hope you guys are smoking some flame too. If you are, please let me know in the comments section what it is that you're smoking on. Do you got some silver haze, some damn, I really like that strain. Do we got some purple punch, some blue dream? Are we smoking it in a blunt, a joint, a bong? Let me know. I would love to know what you're smoking on this morning, because we are blessed to spend another day in this world. So let's smoke up and celebrate this morning. Shout out to all the Roll Gangsters tuning in on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch every weekday morning, going live at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, to talk about some latest and greatest cannabis content. And today, every Thursday, we go over the latest and greatest in cannabis industry news to make sure that we're up to date on the latest motion in the cannabis industry here in the United States. On today's Canna News Thursday segment, we've got news from Minnesota, from New York City, from the United States record, a brand new United States record, and a little bit of Twitter news. Super fucking stoked to get on into this episode with you guys. But first, let's give a quick shout out to the sponsors of the show, because they make it happen for the Weekday Wake and Bake and help out the Roll Gangsters along the way. First and foremost, the first ever cannabis college, Amsterdam University, the place to go to claim your stake in this budding industry. If you are looking to go and learn how to grow some pot in your very own house, and not just any pot, you want to grow some fire, the only way to do that is to go to Amsterdam University. They'll give you all the information you need to know to grow some absolute fire in your very own household. Use promo code Rolling Spoon for 10% off your tuition over at Amsterdam, and learn about this unbelievable plant that sets every kind of vibe that you need. We all know that you're a stoner. I'm a stoner. So it's time to learn about this plant, not just trust it to be the magic that it is. We need to know the science behind it. So use promo code Rolling Spoon for 10% off your industry education over at the first ever cannabis college, Amsterdam University, my proud alma mater. And also, this episode is brought to you by the Rolling Spoon itself, the original cannabis multi-tool, helping to roll a dime every single time, not only on this show, but I use my Rolling Spoon to help me roll a dime off the show as well. Got to love to scoop your herb instead of pinching it. You know what I mean? We don't need to be pinching our delicacy. It's too beautiful of a plant, too sticky. And we don't want to be having any sticky fingers, so Major shout out the Rolling Spoon and Oaksterdam University for making these shows possible every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. So without further ado, I got my pearled up joint ready to go, ready to smoke on this beautiful Thursday morning here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it is time for Canon News Thursday. Let's spark this baby up. Woo! It's a perfect one this morning, roll gang. Let's get it. And let's spark it up and get on into the latest and greatest in cannabis industry news. Boom. So our first story on this Canon News Thursday episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake comes in from Minnesota. So Minnesota has this group of activists that's been trying to get cannabis legalized for a really long time now. And it's honestly time for us to go federally legal, but shout out to all these activist groups in all the different states that are trying to get their cannabis industry legalized in their given state. Minnesota, actually one of the weirdest loopholes. They're selling like hemp-derived THC edibles. So as long as it's derived from a plant where THC is less than a percent of the plant matter, then you're allowed to extract the THC and make 100 milligram edibles with it. It's pretty crazy over in Minnesota. So the activists are really trying to take the next steps to just make it legalized so they can consume from dispensaries. Shit, I just ashed on myself. Oh shit. Let me see if I can get it. Good shit. So yeah, Minnesota activists trying their best to legalize cannabis statewide, and they just got a House representative and majority leader to join their campaign. What an awesome piece of news. These Minnesotan activists been trying so hard to legalize cannabis, and they just got a very formidable ally, and his name is Ryan Winkler, the House Majority Leader in Minnesota, now a big part of the cannabis legislation campaign over in Minnesota. Shout out Ryan Winkler for getting involved in the activist group over in Minnesota for making the moves necessary to get this industry legalized. So the next piece of cannabis news is coming in from the great city of this country. New York City is absolutely banging right now in the cannabis industry. Today at 4:20 p.m. opens, 4:20 Eastern, New York City time, opens the first ever adult use dispensary in New York City history. What a monumentous event. The city that never sleeps, getting its first dispensary. The biggest city in the United States. Super fucking stoked for New York City citizens to be able to buy and consume cannabis so freely and openly. It really is promising. Not only in New York are you now allowed to buy cannabis. If you're over 21, you're allowed to consume cannabis wherever you can smoke a cigarette. You can consume cannabis wherever it is legal to consume tobacco. And honestly, I think that jumps New York City to one of, if not the top city in the United States to consume cannabis in. New York City, Stonerville all of a sudden. Let's fucking go. Gotta love our biggest city in our country showing the way. Honestly, with so many great consumption cities like LA and Las Vegas and Denver, this is the best one. Not just because it's probably the best and most popular city of them, but it's got the best rules too. You can go and consume anywhere you can consume cigarettes. So, really exciting news from New York City. Next up, we've got a study from the United States, a complete nationwide study. In fact, it's a study on studies. So, in 2022, the United States has conducted 4,300 gold standard studies on U.S. soil. Even a year ago, it was much more difficult to study cannabis. But now, 4,300 gold standard studies done involving cannabis in the United States. That is officially a new United States record. The most ever cannabis studies conducted in a year in the history of recordings. And this is only going up. Super fucking exciting news that we're getting our education up in this country about this plant. And you can see the direct correlation it's having with legislation. All of these studies are being done simultaneously with legislation loosening. And that's because they're promising studies, World Gang. Like, cannabis is going to be a mogul industry in the United States within 10 years. And breaking records trying to study the plant right now. Shout out to the United States Medical Association, who's been doing a ton of studies. All of the individual colleges studying cannabis now, making a huge chunk in cannabis education in this country. Let's keep cannabis education rolling. Speaking of education for this amazing magical plant, go to WWnB University to get your cannabis industry education, the first ever cannabis college to boost your cannabis knowledge. Use promo code Rolling Spoon to get 10% off your tuition. The Rolling Spoon, not only helping to roll a dime every time on every episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake, but also helping to get your cannabis education at WWnB University. So last but certainly not least on this Canna News Thursday episode, the last story of the day is a Twitter story. So shout out to everybody watching on Twitter. This one is for you. So Twitter just changed the rules a little bit on their algorithm. So it used to be, everybody knows that whatever you type on Instagram, Twitter gets tracked to see what ads they get to show you. You're talking or texting with a friend on social media about something, and then next thing you know, an ad pops up. So the way Twitter used to do this is they would show people who talk about weed a lot drug treatment ads. So people who consume cannabis and are open on Twitter about their cannabis consumption would then get drug treatment ads. So Twitter finally cut this, was like, yo, cannabis is not a drug. It's an amazing plant, and a lot of our users consume cannabis. We've got to stop treating them like drug addicts and show them different ads, you know? Let's get some cannabis ads going on, because it's pretty easy to tell who's over 21 on social media. But Twitter finally stopping using drug treatment ads for cannabis consumers on their app and website. Super fucking foresightful of them. I mean, I really think that cannabis is so far from a drug. It's more like a salad. But Twitter hopping on the bandwagon. No more drug treatment ads on Twitter for the stoners or the roll gangsters. Monster news for those of you tuning in on Twitter. But shout out to everybody tuning in on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. You guys are all the shit. Love session with you guys every weekday morning. I'm going to go finish this dimer of a joint while I catch up on my breath. Shit. But love you guys so much. Super fucking epic episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake scheduled for tomorrow. Fuck yeah, Friday. An absolutely historic and legendary episodes with the 2 first ever double bumpers in USTA history. Myself and my tennis partner, teammate, Kyle Necht will be joining me on the show to talk about how we skipped a grade in tennis this past tennis season, jumping from a 3-5 the whole way over 4-0 to 4-5 in USTA tennis here in Las Vegas Valley. Super excited to smoke a joint and chop it up with my teammate and homie Kyle, the absolute boy. But make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. You know exactly where to find us. The Weekday Wake and Bake on the Rolling Spoon channel. Mwah! Love you, Roll Gang. See ya. Oh, shit.